We're gonna, delay the meeting.
Test.
Test, test. Test, test. Test, 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 much better. Thank you. So we're going to delay, in case you weren't able to hear me, we're going to delay for about 10 minutes. Waiting for Councilman Gilly and our city secretary. They should be here pretty soon. We're about 10 more minutes. We just got a telephone call, so still about 10 more minutes. Call to order the Kennedale City Council, regular meeting, May 16th, 2023, 5:30 PM. We are at City Hall Council Chambers located at 405 Municipal Drive in Kennedale. Members of the public may join in person or access a live feed at www.cityofkennedale.com/videos. However, the virtual option does not allow for public comments. To address the Kennedale City Council regarding an agenda item, please submit a request to speak form, and they are located over here at this table. Before the meeting begins, if you could get them turned in to our city secretary. Speakers, you'll be allotted 3 minutes and must limit your comments to the subject indicated on the form, and should address the Kennedale City Council as a whole rather than individual members or staff. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, the Kennedale City Council reserves the right to adjourn into executive closed session at any time during the meeting to seek legal advice from the city attorney on any item posted on the agenda. Madam City Secretary, may I have a roll call?
Rocky Gilly, place 1.
Present.
Brad Horton, place 2.
Present.
Kenneth Michaels, place 3.
Here.
James Connor, place 5.
Here.
Mayor Joplin, we have a quorum.
And we have Degenhart absent tonight. And we're going to have our invocation and pledges now after the roll call. And I've asked Councilman Horton to lead us in the invocation and Councilman Michael in the pledges. And if you will stand. Yes. Oh, and the audio on YouTube is not working. Thank you for that. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. We're going to go to election business. And we're going to start out with recognition of our outgoing council member, Councilman Connors.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to make this as short and as sweet as possible. Our time together has come to a close. I would like to thank the current sitting city council for their due diligence and their commitment to resurrecting the city from the ashes and rebuilding it into a beacon of hope and preservation from the ground floor to the offices of City Hall. My first council meeting was full of tension, much like it is tonight. I was the linchpin in firing George Campbell, the former city manager, one of the very best decisions this council made. We had some help along the way with Councilwoman Jacobson, Councilman Mitchell, 2 very fine and upstanding former members of our community, to Mayors Johnson, Rhodes, Matthews, and now Joplin. I want to thank you for your time and for your personal counsel. There were some heated discussions and still are. However, we always came together for the betterment of our community and our shared concerns for the citizens of Kennedale. In the last 2 years, we have done an 8-cent tax decrease, a senior tax freeze still making its way through council, a new city manager that knows Kennedale. We passed new bonds for new roads, which are still ongoing, purchased new equipment for our public works, purchased 3 new police cars, new ambulance, new fire trucks, sewer and water infrastructure improvements, which are still ongoing. If You've been down Third Street, you know that. Our new senior activity center and meal programs, and a new director in Elizabeth Partridge, who you have done an amazing job, and I cannot stress that anymore. Yeah, she deserves that and more. New equipment for firefighters, new equipment for police officers, and a whole host of other things. A new hometown Christmas event. So, and also the new safe routes to school project, which we've been talking about for months on end now, almost 2 years. However, I'm happy to announce that we will break ground on that in late 2023, early 2024. So that is coming. So our children can get to school safely. Bill, so essentially what I'm trying to say is that we've done a lot in the last 2 years. And there's a lot more that we can do. But due to time constraints, I can't name them all on here. One of the most needed items is communication and transparency, something that I do take great pride in. I was able to bring that aspect to our citizens as they were silenced for way too long, in my opinion. Being in the top level of local government means that you have to answer questions. So with that said, I like to challenge my opponent, my friend, Mr. Navarez, to make strides and answer anyone's question, whether you agree with it or not. I'd also like to challenge him to tell his writers at Kennedale News to stop writing hit pieces on the council because it doesn't gel with their point of view, and try seeing it from everyone's point of view. And finally, I'd like to challenge him to put his anger and dislike for certain members within our community and certain people on this council aside for the better of our community. I don't think that you have an inch of hate in your heart, and I know that to be true. To the staff of City Hall, I thank you for all your hard work and dedication. And I do agree that you all need to be paid more than what you are. To our first responders, you put your lives on the line every time you take a call. Be safe, and thank you for keeping Kennedale safe. And finally, to my supporters, and to those who really don't care for me. If you think you've seen the last of me, boy, do I have some news for you. But now, with all that being said, let the peaceful transfer of responsibility begin.
We will move to the certification of official returns. Okay, the official returns for the May 6, 2023 election. Council Place 1, Rocky Gilly, 368 votes, Chris Evans, 366. City Council Place 3, Kenneth Michaels with 587 votes. City Council Place 5, Jeff Navarez, 390 votes, James Connor, 353. As a result of the tabulations, Rocky Gilly, City Council Place 1, Kenneth Michaels, Place 3, and Jeff Navarez, Place 5. That is the official count. And we are going to move to consider the approval of the ordinance to canvass the returns, declaring the results of the election. So I would ask for a motion to approve the ordinance.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we consider. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we consider approval of an ordinance canvassing the returns and declaring the results of the general election held on May 6th, 2023 for the purpose of electing the places of city council members, places 1, 3, and 5.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
All, I have a second, all in favor? Okay, I have three, and so it is approved. Thank you. And now we will swear in the newly elected officials. So if Mr. Navarez, and you'll soon be Councilman Navarez, come on up. And Councilman Billy and Councilman Michaels, if you'll go down front, we'll swear you all in at one time. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Or however you'd prefer, I'll leave that up to you. Hey, we have our election business finished, and we're going to move to our work session reports. The first item on our work session is the stormwater issues with Kennedale ISD. And you're going to give us an update on that, or?
Actually, I want to.
Okay, we're going to have our city attorney give us an update.
Well, the short version is the city does not have any property involved in this particular matter. So the city really can't spend any of its public dollars on someone else's property. So our hands are effectively tied in this particular matter. There's nothing we can really do. So that's kind of the end of it. If we do anything at all, we're likely to incur additional liability or make the city liable for something that it's currently not liable for. We didn't cause the flooding. We're not we're not a party to the dispute between the two property owners. So if we get in the middle of it, we're getting into the middle of something that right now we don't really have a stake in one way or the other.
Is anything you'd like to add to that?
I'd just like to say, we have attempted to partner with the school district and our residents that are being affected by the flooding. It is. We have helped in the best manner that we can to help our citizens as a whole. There's always difficulties when you're dealing with two different governmental entities. And I feel that we've done our best at this point to help both sides to partner with the school district and our residents as a whole. With that said, also with the restrictions that are there, I agree with our city attorney. We do not need to put a burden on the city as a whole versus maybe one community. Now, obviously, I agree with our city attorney with the idea that hopefully the city, school district or the school district as a whole can work with our homeowners and come to a conclusion and what's
with all that
best
being
for
said,
both parties.
With peaceful transfer of responsibility.
Council, does anyone, we'll start with Councilman Gilly, if you have any questions or or questions for the attorney or for city manager?
Yes, I know in the previous council meetings, we had discussed about a counter offer be made with the school district where we would provide limited equipment and limited resources, but not accept the liability, ongoing liability of trying to repair the drainage issue.
One, Rocky Gilly.
And I'd like to know, have we responded to the initial contract and offer that Kennedale ISD made with a counter offer?
Let me respond to that. This- Kennedale ISD, just like the city, is a governmental entity. And under the Texas Constitution is prohibited from indemnifying other entities for liability or wrongdoings. So their proposal asked us to indemnify them, which we're constitutionally prohibited from doing. And so the proposal was to try and get them to indemnify us. Well, they can't indemnify us under the Constitution. So in my opinion, there was no reason to go forward making a proposal that was unenforceable under the Constitution. And so, no, I did not offer another proposal.
Okay, and I believe that issue of the constitutionality of the indemnification came up, maybe was found after. I don't believe we knew about that at the time we were making that decision. Okay, thank you.
That's correct. Councilman Horton?
Yes, ma'am. Can you guys hear me? Test. There we go. There we go. And I understand that, we can't do this for everybody. We can't get involved in a dispute, between two landowners. I get that. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're representing these guys and in their best interest. I understand, but I mean, all I ask is, can we continue to negotiate with the school district to step in and help them? And, nobody is blaming anybody or anything like that. It's the situation we're in. And I understand it's not a pleasant situation. But I would ask that we keep the lines of communication open. And, I would, putting myself in their shoes, what are they supposed to do? And I mean, my heart goes out to them, and I just ask that we continue to see if we can continue working to some sort of a solution. And I understand that we can't take on the liability, but maybe we can continue communicating with the district and seeing what options there may be. That's it.
Thank you. Do you want to reply to that? Councilman Michaels? Councilman Navarez, first time.
About this, because my understanding is the waterways are. I'll eat it, Mike. Okay. My understanding is the waterways are owned by the state, so wouldn't this be an issue with the state or at least county? Like, who cleans up the rivers, banks in a county, I guess is my question.
Generally, the upstream property owner is responsible for the flow of water that flows downstream.
Mhm.
So if they alter the natural flow of the water, they are responsible for the resulting damage that occurs as a result of that. So in this case, it's my understanding that the flow of water flows from the school district's property onto the citizen's property.
So I understand that part, but there's been a lot, I mean, that school's been around there longer than the development. So the flow of water has been changing just by the fact that we, as an area, have changed the flow of water for better. We get water, for different water cellars and things like that. So the flow of water has just changed naturally, which TCQ has been addressing with their flood maps. But I guess I'm just losing it there. The property's been there for a long time. How are they responsible, I guess, for that if the erosion and just the way that we have moved water around DFW has changed the outcome of that?
Well, part of the key is who's the we
Yeah,
in your statement. The city of Kennedale hasn't moved anything.
no,
So,
the state has.
well, I don't know that the state has either. I mean, that actually would be something that would have to be litigated in all probability, and you
Okay.
would have to get expert witnesses to offer testimony as to what is the cause if the water flow has changed. I mean, if it hasn't changed, then there may not be any ultimate responsibility there from a legal standpoint, but for the city, we don't have any property involved in the matter one way or the other. So we don't even have standing to litigate the question of what caused the change in flow.
Yeah, and I understand that part. I'm not suggesting the city even get involved in this. I'm just trying to kind of echo Mr. Horton's, what he's saying is I mean, these are our citizens, if we should maybe be pushing this up the stream to bigger entities when it comes to the flow of water. And that's just kind of my opinion about it. That's all I have. Thank you, Ms. May.
There's nothing else on this. We'll move to work session item number 2. However, I think what I'd like to do is to go ahead and allow you to speak, if that's okay. I do have requests to speak from both of the homeowners that are affected by this. So if you guys want to come up, I'd call to, sorry, Rayanne, I'm moving things around on you. John or Dustin, either one of you each have 3 minutes. And just your address, please.
There you go. Thank you. So, my name is John Da Silva, I live at 311 Autumnwood Court. We'll say I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting to come here tonight thinking we would have counter offer or something. That's not to say that I don't understand the city's position. At this point, I guess I would ask, I don't know if there's anything the city can do. I know, it was, the school was there before the houses were there, but I think the fact remains the city altered the land when they developed the school back before there was a house there. So whether there's a house there or not, they did alter land and they did alter the flow of water.
Did
Well,
you
I don't
say
know.
city or school?
I'm sorry, school.
Okay.
And so I don't know if there's any kind of code compliance, something or other the city can do to, I don't know, help put pressure on the school district to do something. I will say they are currently out there with backhoes and whatnot on that property, tearing down the baseball field. I don't know if that counts as altering land property, if they need permits to do that, if they've gotten permits to do that. So I don't know. It's a little disappointing, and like I've said many times before, this is the show. We gain momentum, and then here we are, stonewalled, left with the flood in our yard. So with that, I'll digress. Thank you.
My name is Dustin Verona. I'm at 309 Autumnwood. And just for those that may not know what's going on, we have basically waterfalls that are coming from the school property into our property and flooding us out. We're getting on rain season. We're real close to getting water in our house. So that's what we've been doing, is addressing it with the city council and the school board. Some of the comments I would say, I'm kind of getting used to public speaking now. I've spoke here 3 times. I've spoke at the school board 3 times, so it's kind of getting easier, but we're still not getting anywhere, not without the help of y'all. Y'all have been doing your part, done as much as you can. We've been pushing on the school board, but the thing that I'd like to address is the city lawyer did mention that we couldn't alter the flow of water, with machinery. Also, the school board come back and they said, or Chad or the lawyers came back and said that they don't have the means to move dirt. They own a backhoe. It's out there doing work right now. They own an official that's part of the school board that can run it. We were told that they don't have that. That's why they leaned on y'all. If that's not proof right there that they do have the means to do it, I don't know what is. Also, the city has code compliances, which I'll echo him, John. If you can go out and you can write a ticket for somebody for grass, I'm not sure why you can't write a ticket for somebody flooding your property. Maybe it's not part of the law that the city does, but I think that's a little bit worse than having somebody's yard that you can't see the front of their house. So write a ticket for grass. I'm not sure why you can't write a ticket for flooding somebody's house. That's really all I have. I really I appreciate the continued support, and I hope it continues. I hope Jeff can get involved. I hope he's seen the videos, and if he hadn't, I can send them to you. And I appreciate Mr. Connor's help while he was around as well. So we'll continue to push on the school board. I'll continue to talk here and make everybody aware that that's not in the city. And we'll keep going from there. So I appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, before we move on, I would like to introduce a proposal. Would it be possible to extend an offer to KISD that for a very reasonable fee, City of Kennedale would provide equipment and equipment operators to remediate the flooding on their property under their control? We would be almost like a contractor to them, but offer that to them at a very reasonable price. Is that a possibility? I see Carvin making a face.
It's always a possibility, but if the city involves any of its personnel, any of its equipment, then it is essentially taking responsibility for anything that occurs into the future. So if we move any dirt, we go in there with a shovel, if we go in there with any equipment, we will be the ones moving and changing the flow of water, and we'll be responsible for resulting damage that occurs.
Even if we're acting as an agent of the school district.
They will still be our employees, and it'll still be our equipment. So we will be target number 1 in that lawsuit. They'll probably also sue the school district, but we will be target 1, and we will be responsible for the actions of our employees using our equipment. And again, the motor-driven equipment is one of the single biggest exceptions to the protection that we have under the Tort Claims Act. So if we use motor-driven equipment, we are waiving our tort claims immunities and caps. So I would strongly advise against the city taking that route from a legal standpoint. Now, just keep in mind, the school district, and I'm not the school district attorney, but the school district is a governmental entity just like ourselves. They can bid out construction projects. I suspect they have built buildings. I suspect they have built parking lots. I suspect they can go hire a contractor to do just about anything that you've suggested that the city might be able to do. And that contractor will likely be required, because they're a governmental entity, to provide a bond for the performance of the work, to provide insurance, and will likely engage an engineer to make sure that the project accomplishes the purposes that they want to accomplish, which would be to alleviate the flooding that is occurring on their property. All of those things the city would do if it was in a city park or in a city property. If it was occurring out here, we would engage. We have a city engineer under contract. We would engage our city engineer to draw up a plan to remediate the flooding problem that is coming from our property onto somebody else's property. And then we would likely go out for bid to engage a contractor to provide the work. We probably wouldn't engage our own people because they've got other jobs to do daily. We would apportion money, engage a contractor, seek out bids for that project, and then we would award a bid to go fix whatever is determined by our professional advisors is causing the flooding. The problem for you guys right now is you can't spend city dollars on somebody else's property. You really have no public purpose serving that. You have an obligation to your citizens to spend the public tax dollars on city problems, city property. And I can't advise you to spend the money on something that will incur liability that right now the city doesn't have any liability for.
Thank you. Nothing else. We're going to move to the work session item number 2, which is a park dedication ordinance. And just to give an overview where we're at with this, what we were looking for was a park dedication ordinance that gave us authorization to use our park dedication funds, which we have about 700,000 in the fund, and we're working on park updates. And so what we have found is we found 3 ordinances, one that was issued in 98, which is the original ordinance that requires a zoning map. And then there were a couple of other ordinances that changed the units per acreage that are allowed or asked for when developers are building. But we're looking at ordinance number 153, which is the park dedication ordinance. And with this ordinance, it suggests that there is a zone map, and apparently that was either never created. And so we are going to create the zone map. And I'll turn this over at this point. I just wanted to kind of draw you a picture as where we're at right now. We'll talk to the attorney and city manager and they can fill you in, but that's the best is like what I read just from the ordinances. And we'll turn this over to Carvin, to our city attorney.
Mayor, you've done a good job of summarizing. I would just point out, this is not a zoning map. This is not a zoning issue as you're accustomed to dealing with. It uses the word zone, but it's describing park zones that are created on a map that tell us where we can spend these dollars. And I suspect there was a map created back when this ordinance was adopted back in 98. It's just, we've gone through several generations of staff and council, and we cannot locate the map that allows us to spend the money, and the ordinance itself limits us to spending those dollars in the in zones that are designated on the map. With an exception, we can occasionally spend the money in a contiguous zone within 2 miles of the boundary of the contiguous zones. So we could spend it if we had a map. We don't have a map, and we have tried. Staff has turned multiple stones and boxes and file cabinets, and they cannot find the requisite map. We've talked with park board members. We've gone back historically, and we cannot find that map. So the solution, in my opinion, to you is to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, go back to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and have them create an appropriate map that complies with the requirements of the ordinance. And once that is done, then you can go back and spend the money in accordance with the ordinance. But right now we're stuck.
So does this mean that all of the money that has been spent in recent years without a map from the park dedication fund that has sort of been in a questionable area of expenditures? Is that what this means?
As the city's attorney, I'm certainly not going to take that position, no. My supposition is that a map was available at the time those expenditures were made and it's been misplaced. And we can't find it today.
Councilman Horton?
So I guess at this point, we just need to direct the city to. All right, well, I'm game.
If I can just respond to that, I don't think it requires any formal action of the council at this point. I believe staff can proceed. Recognizing now that we need the creation of the map, and I think the city manager can move in that direction to get the two boards that have to have input on the creation of the map set up and ready.
Does the planning and zoning actually have to have input, even though it's not the zoning or planning concept, or is it the planning of a park?
That the language of the ordinance is the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Board shall recommend the establishment of the neighborhood park zone. So I think we'll need a formal recommendation from those two bodies to the council, and then the council can act. Thank you.
Councilman Michaels? No question. Councilman Navarez?
I mean, I've been in the Parks Board for a long, long time. I don't recall ever having the issue of a park zone. I do recall it being discussed with us about satellite parks and dedication. Pretty much that lines up with the 1998 one, except for the floodplain. That's a little bit different from what we were told. So I'm all for this. Let's get this money out of there. Those parks are needed. We spent the last 2 months on the Parks Board preparing some options for us. That's over the budget, but that way we can pick apart what's important and what we should be done. So I look forward to help present that to this council.
Excellent. What I would like to see happen, if possible, is that the Parks Board would see it next month and Planning and Zoning see it next month, and it would come to us in June, if possible.
That is the plan.
That's possible.
It is- it is
That's
a-
a
it is
plan.
possible.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to move to reports and announcements. We will start with updates from members of our city council, and we'll start with our newest member, Councilman Navarez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I definitely hit the ground running. My first day, I went to the Steeplechase HOA and met with everybody there. The second day, I went to Mr. Seller's house and met with them. He's a friend of mine that I've been helping try to move along this Airbnb issue that he had. But I got to hear his neighbors speak, and so that was good, and challenged a couple of them as well. I did the community dinner on Wednesday, which is always good to have a free dinner, especially in my world. And I also met with the mayor and city manager as well, just to discuss things moving forward. I'm very upset that I'm gonna be missing this weekend's and week's activities around here. On Thursday, there's the dinner, on Saturday and Friday, we have a lot of events around here that I helped prepare. But I will be taking a couple of days off to go to Colorado and see my niece graduate and blow off a little bit of steam. I look forward to a long, long drive tomorrow to Colorado by myself, which it's good. I like that stuff. On a side note, I just wanted to thank James for the things that he said. I also wanted to thank everybody who's came to support me and reached out to me. I had a lot of people, elected officials in the county, shoot me a text or gave me a quick phone call congratulating me, other city councils, mayors, judges, and one in particular, I just want to thank publicly, which is Judge Kim, who sent me a beautiful card. And let me tell you, he's got the best handwriting in the world. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Councilman Michaels?
Well, I did attend is that working? The chamber luncheon and coffee chat last month, and I want to thank Miss Cotton for the wonderful 5th anniversary celebration with Holly Tucker. It was a great event if y'all missed it. I mean, we got a little wet, but it was enjoyable. And I'm hoping she raised a lot of funds for her new senior outreach. I did attend both showings of the community theater in the park, Once Upon a Mattress. If y'all haven't seen one of their shows, it's a great group of kids and adults that get out there every time. And it's just, I mean, this one was actually pretty good. I did attend the New Hope Road Town Hall. If y'all are not familiar with that, that's with the construction and the railroad, we had a town hall so we can talk to the residents and kind of give them updates of what's going on. And this past Saturday, me and the mayor and KKB planted over 500 plants in the town center. And of course, this weekend coming up, we have Kid Fish Bark in the Park and the barbecue cook-off. And the next KKB Saturday work day will be June 10th at 8:30. So if y'all don't have nothing to do on Saturday, come on up, help us plant.
Councilman Horton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, with it being Police Appreciation Week, I'd like to say thank you to Chief Holguin and all of our, I guess he's not in the room at the moment, all of our police officers. And I know that our city manager has something to do with that as well. And just thank you all for our safety. And we certainly appreciate everything that you all do for us. Additionally, congratulations to Councilman Gilly, Councilman Michaels, Councilman Navarez on your wins. And congratulations to Councilman Connor and Mr. Evans on hard-fought campaigns. Further, to our friends at Kennedale ISD, congratulations on the passage of your recent bond. And like to add that I got to visit the Daiquiri Domain and attend a networking happy hour event. If you guys have not had a chance to go, really cool place. If you want a place to watch a game or just go hang out, and you also get Simple Simon's Pizza. So really cool place, really awesome place, and look forward to getting a babysitter and maybe going back because they'd probably ask us to leave with our kids. But nevertheless, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Councilman Gilly.
I will just answer to landslide Gilly from now on. So I was in a hard campaign. It looks like, according to today's recount that finished about an hour and a half ago, that I won by 2 votes. So what I've attended the Holly Tucker event, and that was an excellent event, especially in light of the weather and the rain. It was a very good, great performance, just great time to get together. Knocked on a bunch of doors, asking people to vote for me, spoke with a great number of people, and that was a great experience. A contested election makes you a better candidate and makes you a better city council person. And so maybe I should have knocked on a few more to have a little stronger lead. But anyway, the other attended the Daiquiri Domain networking, also met some Arlington City Council mayoral and city council candidates and people already elected to office. And it was always good to network with them. The town hall about the train stopping across the tracks. I believe since that town hall and passing out of the phone numbers of the Union Pacific people, I don't believe the train has stopped across that track
Knock on wood.
so far since then. And I look forward to serving another 2 years.
As well, I attended the chamber luncheon. It was an excellent update from our library director, Elizabeth Partridge. And in case you don't know, our library is a resource, as a great resource, and all you need is a free library card for that. I highly recommend you check out the free resources at the library. And I'm just kind of poking jabs at her because during the chamber luncheon, it was all about the free card. So if you don't have your card, go get it. even I was amazed at the resources available at our library. Incredible. It was an honor to attend Forest Hill Mayor for the Day. The Forest Hill Mayor Boardingham selected a young man, Zion Carr, that had a very tragic situation in his family. And she honored him along with some selected classmates as mayor and council for the day. I thought that was a really cute idea. They had their name up there, and there was even a city attorney. He got to pick from his classmates, and his brother was the city attorney, and his friends were councilmen. So it was really fun. The attendance for the Holly Tucker concert was low, but I will tell you this, for the ones that went, we were really, really lucky. It was an amazing show. Thank you so much for organizing that. It was incredible. It was a first-class show. I mean, without a doubt. We were really blessed to have her and her band perform for us, and I hope she comes back and does that again, and that everybody shows up. Lots and lots of people show up. The city manager and I met with a couple of entrepreneurs that are interested in bringing a business, a very unique business plan that would be a good fit, but time will tell what they decide. But it's always nice meeting with people and hearing ideas that they have to come into our wonderful city. I also got to spend some time in Arizona with my daughter and granddaughters, and literally flew in just in time for the town hall. And I thank you, city manager, for coordinating that event. It was everyone involved in that situation. Every party involved was here. Union Pacific, Friesen Nichols, the engineer, TxDOT, there was someone else. Who else was? The staff, the contractors. Yeah, the contractors that were working on the bridge. So everyone is all this was full. I mean, there was full. Everyone had an opportunity to speak about the problem, and it was a major problem. I think Union Pacific didn't know what they were walking into. So like, whoa, this is a major problem, but they heard us. They addressed the problem that night. I was very impressed with the director of operations. He actually made a commitment to us that night that it would stop. And he called me today. He actually called me today and followed up and said, I just want to know, how's it going? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Said I was actually kind of afraid to say it out loud. I wanted to put it on Facebook to the Kennedale moms and say, so moms, anything? But I'm afraid to open that door. So to date, so far, it hasn't stopped. It's just keep on going. So thank you for that. We worked it out, the problem, the solution, and seems to be working. Let's see. Congratulations again to the councilman, Navarez and Gilly and Michaels, and also to Councilman Connors and Chris Evans. It was a hard fought election, and I will say that Councilman Navarez, that you bring years of city history, and I believe you will be an asset to us with all the projects and issues that we have going forward. So. Mr. Hull and I met with Precinct 2, confirming some timing on some various streets that they've funded, and we're waiting for clarification on those. I attended a meeting that was hosted by DRC, and DRC stands for Day Resource Center. I think that's what that used to be called, but it was Community Impact of Homelessness. So most people don't really think about how much homelessness cost our city. And specifically that means to us, the taxpayers. I certainly had never thought about that before. But all the homeless all have health and assault type issues. And they all require first responders, EMS, law enforcement, and there's a cost for that. There was a figure that was presented to us that was about $4,000 for every single call that the homeless send to 911 to go and take them to JPS or wherever it is that they're requesting to go, or whatever the problem might be. So there's also a cost from Public Works and the use of our library. There's a cost of businesses that affect our sales tax revenues. So this is a national problem, but understanding our local resources will help us in managing the resources that we have. I'd like to give a shout out to Kim Courtney, the chair of the Keep Kennedale Beautiful Board, for inviting me to plant those 500 gorgeous flowers. But boy, the next day I could hardly move. I'm like, oh my. They really work hard. The Keep Kennedale Beautiful work really, really hard to keep our town center park looking so pretty. And if anyone is interested, like you invited them, come on out. They actually work every Wednesday morning as well, right? Wednesday morning, 8:30. And then the second Saturday, come on out, just show up. Even if you don't have gloves, just show up. I didn't bring gloves and they had some there for me. So come on out and help them. We also, as everyone mentioned, we have a huge weekend coming up, so make sure to take advantage of some or all the fun. You can find all the event information on the city website and sign up for the emails that keep you updated on all the events. The emails also have information on the upcoming town halls that are relating to updating the master plan for a community. So if you want to be involved in that, you'll need to look at the emails. I mean, sign up for email, make sure you get the information. A reminder to follow the Facebook page for the Southeast Connector Project for updates, because already lanes and ramps are closing. And you can find that on Facebook at Southeast Connector. And then just a couple little, couple little things. School is almost over. That means there's more kids out playing. Residential speeds are,
Miles.
okay, I'm going to say 25 or less. Please reduce your speed. I am just shocked. I live on Hilltop. I am shocked at how fast people go flying down my street. And I'm actually at the bottom of a hill, so they're hitting the, hitting the bottom of it. So please slow down in our residential areas. And thank you for the little speed monitors that we now have. Those are excellent. I think it does help. I've seen a couple of people in front of me like, ooh. So it's definitely helping. And then thank you to everyone that attended tonight in person and online. There is obviously, you can hear there's a lot going on in our community, so stay connected. And thank you so much. I'll turn it over to our city manager.
There's no way I can match anything what you guys are doing. But I want to give a shout out to our staff. We do have a very busy weekend coming up. Saturday, we have obviously the Bark in the Park and Kid Fish. And I'll steal some from Elizabeth at the library. We have free fishing poles and tackle for the kids. So make sure you grab a kid somewhere that's actually yours. Or if it's a neighbor kid, and it's okay, you can bring that one as well. But bring them down to the park. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, so come out and be a part of it. It's gonna be a great time. Both of them are between 8 and noon. After the noon, we'd like to also invite you out to Kennedale Speedway Park for some barbecue. We'll have a barbecue cook-off that's taking place, and it's also has a cornhole tournament. So if you have any interest in any one of those, please get in contact with staff or myself. Once again, you can get on any of our social media and you'll be able to see those registration for those events. So come out, be a part of it. After the barbecue and the tournament, you can also come out and enjoy some racing going on at the dirt track. So which is Kennedale Speedway Park. Come out, be a part of that. Obviously, they're welcoming you to come in and be a part of it as well. But I'll leave it at that. I think you guys completed everything.
Amazing. Thank you. And the next is financial reports for the city and the EDC. And that's going to be presented to us by our new finance director, Jonathan Horton.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, are there any questions that I can address? I'd rather answer those before I just start carrying on about something you guys might not be concerned with.
Any questions? Anyone? No, I didn't even have any questions. Very good. Thank you
Well,
for the form.
You did a fantastic job.
Great
Appreciate
job.
Uh, I just want to say, you really took that to heart, didn't you? So I'll just say, in summary, do you want to give a quick summary? Or
Yeah,
I don't mind giving a
so
summary.
If you notice on the packet, this is the first month. March will be has the first summary that has the prior year actual totals. Our audit was complete. That's upcoming. The report on that will be delivered soon. So instead of estimated their actuals, there was a change made for 2022. That was a prior period adjustment based on sales tax collections going from the city to the EDC. The auditors and us felt it was best to do it a prior period instead of 2022 because the expense really should have taken place in a prior period. So putting it in 2022 would have distorted what the actual results for the fiscal year were. As far as just a brief summary of March itself, that's the halfway point for the fiscal year. Our expenditures are 41% of the budget, so we're looking good there. I'm happy to go into further detail as to why if you're interested, but based on the lack of questions, I'll skim that. Our property tax revenues this year, currently they're at 93.8% through March collected to budget. Last year, they were 99.4%, so we're a little behind there, but we make up for it on our sales tax revenues. We're actually ahead in March of this fiscal year, ahead of where we were in last fiscal year. So we're looking better on that aspect. That's a brief summary. Without any questions, I'll leave it there.
No, it all looks good.
Okay.
And I just appreciate if you see any issues, let us know. But otherwise, when I'm reading through this and everything is more than, I'm like, looks
Well,
good.
we'll hope that continues throughout the year.
Yes, absolutely. Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And visitor and citizen, we don't have anyone signed up for the visitor and citizen forum. I do have one person signed up to speak during the public hearing though. So we'll move to the consent agenda. And you'll see there's two items on there, but I'm going to go ahead and move two off of the consent. And we're going to speak to that separately as an individual item. So what I'm asking for is a motion on consent item number 1, which is approval of minutes.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 1, approval of the minutes from the April 18th, 2023 regular meeting.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second
second.
Mr. Horton's motion.
All right, I have a second. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so we'll speak to the consent agenda item number 2, which is the amendment for the ILA for operations and treated water cells between the city of Arlington and the city of Kennedale. Who would like to take this? Is this you, Carvin? You want me to give a summary, Christian? Where we at?
If we can we just start with, if we have questions, and I know we had a couple of concerns on your side. Was that as a whole?
So my question was, I would like to just speak to, just so it's, since we haven't had a conversation about this, why it's necessary and what the offer is from Arlington. So if we can kind of start there and then move into the document.
Okay, the ILA obviously was signed originally for us to purchase water through Arlington, and for at one point Arlington to provide the city's service for water, wastewater, stormwater all the way around for that. With this, after we made the interlocal agreement with Arlington, the state came out with a mandate for Senate Bill 3 for us to be able to provide a minimum of 20 PSI for each household within our city. With that requirement, the city has not been able to fulfill that to this point. With the interlocal with Arlington, they are able to provide roughly a third of our citizens this requirement. With that requirement also comes a cost with it, which they were prepared to offer that minimum pressure point. So on their western side of their city, they're able to provide that. The amendment to the agreement is for them to recoup their source of being able to provide that service to us. And that's where the 35 cents per 1,000 gallons comes in and plays a role in it. So that will be in addition to what the current rate, water rate. With that, it's only, that amount is only being applied to that plane, their western water plane. So that third is the only ones getting that additional cost to their water rate. The other 66% of the city will not occur that rate until we're able to provide that service. So currently, we're not able to provide it. But right now, the only ones that are affected by it is that 1/3 that Arlington is able to provide. That makes sense.
And this came from the freeze. That's what started all of this, is when the freeze happened, is that's the
That's
legislation came
correct.
after the freeze.
Yes.
So what we're doing is adding an additional amendment to the interlocal to charge 35 cents more for the customers located in the zone that will be serviced if needed by the emergency.
That's correct.
Okay.
Only during the emergency.
Okay, but the 35 cents additional will be charged to them on a monthly basis.
Correct.
And that will start, we think, in June.
I'm assuming at the next cycle.
Okay,
That
June or
part
July.
is not in there, but obviously we have to approve that action.
Okay.
Once that action is approved, that'll allow me to go back to Arlington and set that.
so when we, and will there be a notice to our citizens that,
There will be.
Okay.
We'll make sure all of our citizens understand what the charge is and what the purpose of it is.
okay. And then secondly, there was as you mentioned, we don't have a means of providing the emergency. We have the third of the city that's going to be provided if an emergency is needed. That PSI of 20, which is what I understand is not very much, but they're guaranteed that. And then the rest of it is we're looking into what is needed on our side to provide that for the rest of the city, which is the 4,900. That's what the 4,900 for the scope of work provide to us, what the recommendation would be.
That's correct.
Okay.
The Arcadis part that you're seeing, we started the process well over a year ago. As we're moving forward, obviously, they're asking for an additional 4,900 to complete the study. That study is basically telling us, one, we need to buy generators to be able to push water to get that 20 PSI standard that the state has mandated us to do. This 4,900 will complete that study and will allow us to send that study or our plan to TCEQ to say, hey, we have a plan in place. It doesn't necessarily say that we have to have it done within a certain time. We just have to let them know what the plan is. And that was actually due roughly a year ago. Unfortunately, we just have not been able to get it accomplished, which is also occurring some of the costs with Arlington as well.
Gotcha. And I had one more question. It just slipped my mind. So I just want to make sure everyone knows, and I know there's not a lot of people here, but maybe there's a bunch of people watching online, that this is legislation that's been enforced to us. There was no funding for us. So we don't have a choice but to do this, to go buy generators, to buy it, have Arlington support the part of the area that they're going to take care of. We don't have not like we can say, no, thank you, we're not interested. We have to do it and we have to fund this. So there's a cost to us, and unfortunately, we're going to have to pass that on because that's the way it works. So, once we have the final numbers and know what it's going to cost, then, you'll soon be presenting to council, and a very similar thing will be done to the rest of the customers, the rest of
correct.
the residents, as to what the additional cost is going to be due to the need that we have for the emergency
That's correct.
legislation.
Absolutely. And just for future reference as well, the state continues to put mandates on us dealing with water. And obviously, Christian is involved in it as well as we move forward. So you're absolutely correct. And we're in legislative now, where those mandates continue without funding. The state put the mandates on the cities or local government to provide this service, which is, that's notable. But also they're not funding some of these mandated actions by local government.
Very well. So we'll open it up to questions and we'll start with Councilman Gilly.
Okay, I believe I heard you say that this add-on charge, 35 cents a thousand, would satisfy the 20 PSI requirements to approximately a third of the water users in Kennedale.
That's correct.
Okay, and that would be the eastern, probably the eastern part. And
So
Yes, sir.
so how do they calculate who the last, you're the last meter on the line that is going to achieve 20 PSI? It's got to be just an estimation, I'm sure.
Well, Mr. Cummings, the director with Arlington, has indicated they're able to, they know where the pressure, who they're servicing, per
Mhm.
se, and how far that pressure can go with their system. And that's how it's identified. And that's the way it also, the price or the rate change will apply to certain people within that plane.
And so 35 cents a thousand sounds sort of reasonable until you realize that they may rarely or never have to provide that level of service.
That's correct.
So would it be better perhaps if since we're already in the process of solving this problem for the other part of the city, would it be possible for us to just solve it for the entire city and with the use of generators to drive our pumps and be able to forego this 35 cent a thousand by solving the rest of the city's needs in this area?
As a whole, no, not at this point. And the reason why, with the mandate the state has put on us, we're already a year behind.
Mhm.
The plan should have already been submitted prior to. So we're somewhat restricted on providing this. So the 4,900 is what's going to allow us to send the plan
Right.
with the concept that we still have to provide, we had to buy generators as well
Mhm.
to even supply that 20 PSI.
Right.
So we don't even have that.
Right. I understand.
This is just part to say, hey, we're moving forward and we're getting this taken care of, basically.
Okay, so the thinking is if we can solve part of the solution, that may provide us the idea, the state will say you're doing your due diligence by providing part of the solution. I guess my question is, when we get to the point after the $4,800 study is made and we buy the generators, is it possible for us to provide 28 PSI to the entire city without Arlington's participation?
Not at this point. Now, once we get all the generators in place, yes, it's going to equal out.
Okay.
You know, there's other things that can take place. Ultimately, you know, if we go 100% total Arlington water, obviously we need to present the whole city with that
Right.
capability. But they're not capable of going all the way to our western side to provide that PSI. So that's part of the reason why I think Christian's got something
I
important.
guess
to
I
say.
could jump in here and clarify some of the question you have. Yes, it is. To supply the 20 PSI, which is minimum pressure that you have to have in case of an emergency, otherwise we have to go to a boil water situation. Arlington could provide that PSI, 20 PSI, only to the western pressure plane, because that's where the pump could push. For us to get that water to this side of our town, we have to have booster pump to get that water. To do that, that's going to cost money. And we have to have, for the SB3, we have to have that emergency plan in place. And to do that, we have to have the study done. And we also have to make sure that we have the generators for backup just in case we have emergency. But to get a standard PSI, 20 PSI minimum throughout the whole city, you have to have elevated storage tank, you have to have booster pumps, we have to have generators. We are talking millions of dollars.
what our city manager is alluding to, we have to start somewhere, and it's mandatory that we have to have that EP tree. And as it is right now, we are in agreed order with the state right now because we are a year behind because we're supposed to file this in March of 2022. We passed March of 2023. The state has already sent out an agreed order. They haven't sent the fine yet, but we're already in an agreed order. So we have to have that. And once we get this, the $4,900 assigned to get this study completed, and if the state approves it, we have, we have to make sure that we do what we say we're gonna do. Meaning saying we have to have your generators, and we have to have booster pumps so we could provide that minimum pressure in case of an emergency.
Okay, so I guess my question is, what is the length of the ILA? Let's say that after we get in compliance, we have the booster pumps, we have the generators, we have the refurbished standpipes or holding tanks. Would we need to continue with this afterwards? So what is the length of time of this ILA?
There's not
There's no
a,
time limit on
there's
that.
not a
The
end.
ILA is just to make sure that whatever Arlington is providing for us as an emergency case, whatever is costing them, they need to pass it on to the citizens. So that 35 cents per 1,000 gallon is just minimal cost for them, spread out over a period of time.
Okay, and then in the future, when we are in compliance with the additional booster pumps, generators, standpipes, water holding, water tanks, elevated water storage, then we could get out of this ILA at that point.
I would say yes.
Yeah, but we still have to have the ILA because they're the one who's supplying our water and operation and maintenance. So that ILA is still there. It's just the agreement is going to be completed.
Okay,
This amendment, so to speak.
At one point, we're still gonna need the agreement to provide that. So one of the things he's indicated at one of our stations, we're gonna have to put a pump to provide that pressure. So once we put that pump in, we'll also have to have a generator there and it will supply that. Also, depending on, if we're talking next year or we're talking 5 years from now, obviously these numbers can change, but we'll still have to provide that. And if we continue with the contract with Arlington, there's still going to be a cost associated with it. Once we put these in place, that cost will continue. If I understand in the contract correctly, the cost is only when the emergency is taking place. And is that correct, Carvin?
Yes.
So it's not a continuous,
oh, okay, so this 35 cents per 1,000 applies only during the emergency situation?
Correct.
Oh, okay, yeah, that changes
yeah, it's only during an emergency.
okay, I'm sorry, I was misunderstanding that this would be.
I was misunderstanding that as well.
Because right now we are meeting the 20 PSI.
Well, we'll notify them of what's taking place. Obviously, they need to understand if they see this, bill come up, they need to understand what it is. Other than that, it is a change.
Right, but they're not going to receive an additional 35 cents per 1,000 once we sign this. They're
No.
only going to see that if it's needed in an emergency
Only,
situation.
only during an emergency.
Oh, okay,
And that was part was talking about during.
you're
uh,
right.
To me,
Okay.
that was the key word, and I just want to make sure again that,
Okay,
okay. Yeah, it's during an emergency.
you heard it.
only.
Okay,
Thank you.
Not that it's just the important part. We need to, for us, we need to get the contract. We can tell TCEQ, we're doing our part. We're doing what you asked us to do. Just unfortunately, we have not been able to get it accomplished, and this is the last step for us to be able to do that.
understand. Thank you for clearing that up.
I'm sorry, Mayor. if I
That's
didn't
okay.
Explain it earlier.
No, that's okay. I had a lot of questions in my head and that was just a piece that I like that answer. So it fits nicely. Councilman Horton?
Just one last time, just to clarify, the 35 cents is only during an emergency.
Yes, sir.
And that will be passed off to the citizens in this, basically 1/3 of the households in our city, which are in this area.
That's correct.
That, I guess, yes, thank you. And I thank you too.
Yes, sir. Both of you are in it.
yes, sir. So emergency. I mean, do we have a definition of what, I mean, it rains hard today. That's not going to classify as an emergency, is it?
And Carmen can probably correct me if I'm wrong. It identifies if there's an extended amount of time without electricity. So in other words, the power goes off and the generators turn on to provide that 20 PSI. That is what's going to identify an emergency is taking place.
Okay, so there's identifiable facts. It can't just be, oh, we don't like XYZ. Okay.
And the part, if there's
Okay.
yeah, if there's a part that identifies it as the 24 hours, but it's without power.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Michaels?
I just got a simple question, and it's probably not simple. When I look at their map of this zoning for the West Pressure Plant and stuff like that, how do they know that this zoning is not going to extend over to like Little School Road or anything like that? Because I know on Eden Road, we have a 16-inch main, and then it goes down to a 10 to a 12. They also have a line running to the standpipe on Tower Drive. So that's going to distribute everybody else. Plus another thing that people forget, that we still have a contract with Fort Worth and they're required to 20 PSI too. So
Well, Fort Worth is not required to provide the 20 PSI.
during an emergency.
Correct. We are.
Okay.
This is us.
Right,
They're
but
just
we're
providing the
getting
water.
a minimum from Fort Worth 20 PSI. That's what the contract says.
Yeah.
That they would provide a minimum of 20
Right.
PSI.
I'm just talking in reference to the Senate Bill 3.
Right.
That is our responsibility.
So basically, it's, we're not just working on the west side of town or the east side of town. The other parts will still get water in an emergency. It's just when we go into an emergency mode, of course, there's going to be announcements saying, hey, conserve water.
That's
You
correct.
know,
Yes.
we got this down, this is not working. So I look at it as, you know, the odds of this happening are very, very slim because during the freeze, we didn't lose power to our wells.
Part of it is also on our western side of our city, we have an elevated water tank. So that by itself provides a pressure,
Right.
which ultimately, I can't assume that it's going to go all the way to this Arlington side, but that's also will be in our report
Right.
that we're given to TCE.
But once we get the generators and stuff like that for the pump station, we can actually pump water from that side of town into the standpipe. Because we
Yes.
have a line that's running there.
Yes.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Navarez?
Well, I think my esteemed colleagues pretty much covered my questions. I just want some clarification of our status on this side of town versus Arlington. Like, last time I checked, we had a well that was down and we're supposed to close it up after 3 years. Like, where are we at with all that?
I want to let Christian come up and give.
Christian,
We do have a couple of,
we're still 60-40, right? 60 us, 40 Fort Worth.
I don't think it's 40 from Fort Worth.
Repeat that question.
What's the state of our pumps right now?
Fair to poor conditions. Our pumps don't have the capacity to provide that standard minimum pressure in case of an emergency to supply the whole city.
But the backup for that would be our 2 reserve wells. The height gives us the minimal pressure, correct? Are both of them working?
The elevated is,
Yes.
but right now, our T4 is not, that's the one down by the high school. Our T1 by the fire station is in bad condition.
And what's the mixture right now between mineral and Fort Worth?
What's that?
What's the mixture right now between our water and Fort Worth's water on this side of town?
on the other side of town, we are getting at least 18 to 20% from Fourth Ward.
Oh, okay.
And they are not guaranteeing us, in case of emergency, they are not gonna guarantee us 20 PSI.
Okay.
But they're gonna supply us water, but they're not gonna guarantee 20 PSI.
I've just been reminded by our attorney that we're off topic.
Well,
got
the
a little
reason, this
nudge.
is actually goes to the topic. So this leads to my final question was, one of these emergencies could be one of our pumps breaking, for example, and we can't supply the pressure. We would have to kick these in.
Right, that would probably be a different type of emergency, not the weather emergency, not the SB
So
three.
this is only specific to the,
This is
weather.
specific to SB three.
all right, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll take a motion to approve the ILAs as presented.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to do the ILA with Arlington as it stands.
I have a motion to approve as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous 4. Thank you. And move forward. All right, so we're gonna, do y'all mind if we take a quick break? Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. James isn't here, so I can say a quick break. We're gonna do literally a 5-minute break.
I'll stick around. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It's what it is. He's right. There's some water. You get more for cow. Yeah, we have. That's, yes. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. Exactly. So if you guys Hey, that's over. We got it.
All right, we'll get started again, and we are going to, let's see. Did you get some new mail while you were gone? Oh, yeah, we do need our secretary. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for keeping us on track. So did you get some? Oh, or a statement? Okay, did you receive a packet as well for a signature? Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. And then Councilman Gilly has his. Okay. I guess it was right next door to her, so she. The benefit of the city secretary sit next to you. Okay, we are going to move on to items for individual consideration. We are going to remove item number 1. We're going to pull that for June. That was requested by Councilman Degenhardt, and since he's not here, he's asked if we could just move that to June. So are we going to move on to item number 2, which is consider approval of a bid in the amount of $129,594.58 submitted by Stryker Medical for the purchase of assorted medical equipment to outfit the new ambulance. And we will get an update on that by, is our fire chief here? No? There you are. I couldn't see you.
Evening, council.
Good evening.
Back in June, council approved a grant funding through the Tarrant County Emergency Services District. We received $580,000 for the purchase of a new ambulance and all the equipment associated with it. In November, we approved a contract with Southwest Ambulance Service for the purchase of a new ambulance in the amount of $371,000 and some change. This $129,594.58 is for some of the equipment for that new ambulance coming in. We're asking for your approval to accept this bid from Stryker Medical.
Okay, so that is part of the grant. So unless anyone has any question, it seems pretty cut and dry. So I'll take a motion on this request.
I move that we approve the bid in the amount of $129,594.58 submitted by Stryker Medical.
Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I second.
All right, we have a first and a second to approve. All in favor? Approved unanimously.
Thank
All right, we'll go to public hearings. That's easier to say. Our first public hearing case is PZ 2306 and the second one is 2307. And basically these are identical cases. So once we hear the first one, just know that it's the same, it's applicable to the second one is pretty much the exact same, just FYI. So we will start off, do I want to start off with the public hearing or is hearing from staff? All right, staff. Come on up.
Evening, Mayor and Council. It's great to be with you again tonight. So before you, we have a request for a zoning change at for about 5 acres, just over 5 acres at 1233 Sweeney Hyatt, Lot 3 of the CC Sweeney subdivision here in Kennedale. The surrounding uses there to date, it's surrounded by residential single family out that way. We also have some agriculture out there, an AG zone property. Surrounding this, we have R3 to the east and west of this location. We have R1 to the south, directly to the south, and we have AG zone property directly to the north. We've reviewed our future land use plan, which envisions neighborhoods in this location. And further to the east, adjacent to it, it calls for parks and open space. So I'll just give you a brief overview. Lot 3 right now is unoccupied lot. It's got an accessory structure on it. The applicant is the new owner of 1233 Sweeney Hyatt, and they have plans to split the lot in two to build a single family home on each lot for himself and a family member. He wishes to rezone the property from its current R3 zoning to AG agricultural district so that he can keep livestock, build an accessory structure on there to support if needed. The current R3 zoned district, it limits the number of accessory structures to 1. So in that part of town, we have a lot of R3 property that have got quite a bit of elbow room, but our zoning just limits you to 1. There is a percentage of the rear lot that you can devote to that accessory structure, but still the limit is 1. The applicant, whereas an AG property, if on a rezone, an AG property wouldn't limit the amount of accessory structures. So if he has a desire to build a shop and maybe a stable or something like that, maybe a pen, our zoning doesn't cap property. So that's kind of what has prompted this request for a zoning change. And the applicant, he's expressed his desire to retain the green open space character of that community. The applicant has provided counsel with a project narrative that describes and details how he plans to utilize the lot. This has included sample elevations of those single family homes. So we did post the property on April 25th of this year. We published notice of public hearing in the Star Telegram on April 27th. We did send notification letters mailed to the property owners within 200 feet of this location. And a public hearing was held in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission last Thursday, May 11th of this year. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. Their vote was unanimous. Based on the review of the city's comp plan, our future land use plan, and we found that this request is consistent with our adopted plans, and we do recommend approval. On another related note, the next item is a replat of that property to take the 5 acres to split it essentially down the middle to create the 2 lots for that in the middle. The staff, we have received a lot of phone calls since the posting went up from residents in the neighborhood asking if what kind of development was going to be coming. That was a concern they had. And upon learning that the request had to go back to AG, it seemed to settle a lot of concerns on this part of town. Our future land use plan obviously will likely change portions of it as we go through our comp plan update. But on this part of the community, we have a lot of open space. I've talked to a lot of residents who said they moved there specifically for that rural feel. So we do feel that in considering this zoning change, that it would retain that character of that community. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may
Well,
have.
thank you for that because it clarified in my mind, it actually is two different things. It's a zoning change and then a replat. Okay, thank you for that because they looked identical, but I wasn't quite sure. All right, thank you for that. We'll open it up to questions. Councilman Navarez, we'll start with you.
Just a quick one on the agriculture zoning that allows for additional structures like you were mentioning, but we still have laws that restrict like a second meter for like electricity or water. Does that apply to ag?
It's a great question. An accessory structure, so for example, an accessory dwelling unit, right? So like detached granny flat or ADU, accessory dwelling unit, is not permitted by right in that zoning district. They can apply for a special exception for that if they decide to utilize an accessory structure as a dwelling. But multifamily duplexes, those types of residential offerings aren't permitted by right in a AG district. You can build obviously a single family home. But any accessory building that would be constructed would require a city permit and review of that.
So you're saying that they would have to get approval to get that second meter or an exception to the BOA?
Well, for an accessory dwelling unit, but a second meter, like a water meter, it would be one single meter. Same thing on electrical service. It would have to be supported by a sub panel. So we wouldn't allow a separate electrical service to that, to where that can be metered out separately because it's on a single lot, but it could be sub panel. So if they have a 200 amp service and they put a 60 amp sub panel in that accessory structure, that's perfectly fine, but it would be subject to review, permit and inspection.
Okay, then you mentioned that the neighbors that called you, was there anybody that signed up for P&Z? And I was a little bit late, so.
To speak at P&Z,
speak at
we
P&Z.
did have actually a resident that showed up at P&Z and spoke at P&Z in support of this motion or this request.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gilly, you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilman Horton? Councilman Michaels? All right, so thank you so much, Nathan. We'll open the public hearing. And we did have someone sign up for it, but John Havali has left. So John Havali, are you here? Going once, twice, three times? No? I will close the public hearing. There was just a question. Okay.
I did speak with him earlier. The questions that he had, I was able to answer. And also I sent him to Nathan's side just to confirm everything. So I believe he received his answer.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so with the public hearing open and close.
Just for the record, I probably am misunderstanding. Are you holding a combined hearing on 2306 and 07, or are you going to do a separate hearing for 07?
I was going to do a separate, but I will combine it if I can.
You may, if you
Thank you.
announce it. as
Okay,
combined.
I'm announcing it as combined. So that would be the combined public hearing open and closed for PZ case 2306 and 2307. And we will then take a vote on it one at a time or combined. Oh, close the hearing. I close the hearing. Open, closed. Can we vote on it at one time? Okay. Okay, if the motion combines both cases, then we will go in that direction unless you'd prefer to split it out.
We're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for the consideration. So I'll take a motion for both.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the zoning change from R3 Single Family Residential District to Agricultural District. And I also move that we approve the replat of lot 3R-1 and 3R-2 in the Sweeney's subdivision.
I have a motion to approve both PZ cases. I'll take a second.
I will second it.
All right, so I have a motion to approve both in a second. All in favor? Unanimous, pass. Congratulations. Welcome. We're excited for what you're going to be doing. Yep. Okay, so we are going to move into executive session at this point. So anyone that's left here, you're free to leave. Pursuant to 551.071, consultation with the city attorney pertaining to any matter in which the duty of the city attorney under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct may conflict with the Open Meetings Act, including discussion of any item posted on the agenda, legal issues regarding the Open Meeting Act, concerning the moratorium and concerning court warrant backlog. Also pursuant to 551.074, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee concerning boards, commissions, appointments. So we will go into executive session at 7:40. Jeff, I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It's a lot better this year. That's for sure. That's what I want to see. Thank you.
So I've got one of those sleeves. But I'm getting hold of it. Even like 70. Throw on tonight. We kept it around at 70, 74. I'm just getting used to that. So now I've got to use about 30. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's bad. Today was the first day I turned the lights. They usually close the blinds, but I just turned the lights off around 8. That's all right.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Yeah, they're.
Okay, I'll take off.
Hello, how are you?
That was a lot of work.
And my team.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going home.
Okay, night.
Yeah. I'm about to be on the road.
Oh, great.
I've been talking to Doug about this. Well, then we do have some people come in, I would say maybe less than 10%. Less than 10%. We still have them as part of the collection. But the collection issue doesn't have. Absolutely. No. 20%. It's ridiculous. So, with these cases, the only reason people come in those cases, you put a hold on their job. And their license are up for renewal, and the Omni put a hold on their license. So that's the only reason that we get, if anything, for those people to come back. But even then, it's, I want to say something. The majority of our revenue right now are cases that are actively pursuing, actively working. These cases, we can't do, we can't even threaten them with us.
So it should happen. They should have ran it.
Documents, because there was no documentation back up this morning. So when I got here, I cleared all the meetings, because there was no legal basis. For me.
That's no warrant.
No, it wasn't even a warrant.
That's where the author had.
And the judge too, there was no signed warrant from the judge. There was no signed complaint. So when the court, somebody doesn't show up to court, we issue an FTA, we have to do a sworn affidavit and a complaint for the FTA. Absolutely.
So has experience with the endless system.
Huh? It's fine. Just, I will hear in my sleep tonight.
Right, so what I did when I first, the judge had
Chris.
me clear, stop warrants for being.
It's the other one, under.
Called dispatch.
Well, you got it under.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
so.
Then. You're not corn. And then I cleared every single warrant with, until dispatch. And then we just. When I, February, when I switched. Of last year. So these warrants, they don't exist. The cases exist, but the warrant does not exist.
It's called under.
So we can't do anything with it.
And.
So if one of those.
Say
somebody
798
comes in with one of these cases, because I want to fight my ticket, it was crazy. Even if the officer was here, he couldn't legally.
Like if they had a question, they had to just sneeze.
This is unfair for us, for people if they're responsible and liable to these cases, especially because they don't have law. I'm very great area. I've never worked for a city law enforcement station. I don't know what the legal basis of it is. You know, if we can legally hold their license. The violation is having exceeded its national law. Exactly, unless it's all. So these cases. So I want to. That's the issue that I've heard. Sorry.
Thanks.
I'll have fun tomorrow. I won't be in the meeting.
No. Exactly. And not only that, the FTA that we were issuing, there's no documentation to back up. Before I got here, none of the bailiffs would go out into the steps and call the names. How were they issuing warrants? Nobody ever did it. They say steps, but just out here, you gotta call their names. Yeah, that's pretty much what they sound like.
Exactly. One of those weird. Back in the 1700s.
So, I mean, it's just.
Rules.
Yeah, the rules, I agree. So, but no one was following the rules. and stuff. Before. It was just hard.
So first, I was gonna sign up for the budget workshop, I was in the department, I got all this stuff, but I don't have any stats for like having. Like all our code history, everything started essentially in March. Yeah, all my stuff was on paper and everything, but like building inspections. So. The previous years, my graph is like this year, then this fiscal year, she's like, gonna have for more money, but it's like for this. So, in their system, in the ESO system, they've got, I'm sure they've got some stuff there, but our system, we keep track of, all sorts of inspections that have been injured, so. But, so is yours not in our? I found handwritten notes, and they're by dates. And what I did is I took them and I scanned them in and I have, or whatever George Winter's field notes. And they're from 21. I don't think it's only from 22, but like, because we got a little Enron situation where I'm just like shredding stuff, like I'm scared. I was in between appointments on Saturdays, so I had I had a morning breakfast and I had a lunch plan. So like in between, I had like an hour or two, so I come down here to just do some scanning, and I was just shredding. I broke the shredder. The little bin in there. I don't know how old that shredder is. It's like a peanut brittle because I just grabbed it. I know I'm not that smart. I grab it out because I'm dumping shavings or shredded cooking set where, and it's all over the floor. And Saturday, I'm like, I cleaned up most of it, but I was like, I'll get the rest Monday when I come in. Well, like Ron come in, you know, after that, and that was being.
Turn it. Air up a little. I could just imagine someone.
You see him way better.
My head. It gets either. When I started here, one of the regulars was arrested. And I told the judge, hey, I got arrested. I said, well, filing issue warrants. He's like, I didn't allow for an issue. And he's like, did I sign them? I said, well, there's no warrant. There's, I mean, but your signature is in the system. You can go out and out. So she was issuing warrants without the judge's office. My predecessor. And so. I said, are we gonna file charges against her? That's what I wanted. But my fear was, after, you know, the whole, everything that's been going on with local government, I said, great. What's gonna happen to all these guys? My name's gonna be Bertha Kennedale, Court Administrator of the City of Kennedale. And that's the first thing that I pictured was like first. Similar things.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, I can't. I went to Carolyn. I said, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice. In. I've been here 2 weeks. I cannot do this. Carolyn looked at me. She's like, you can't do this to me. I just started. I said, I can't do this, period. It was so bad.
It's not one of those any press is good press.
No. But it ended up the guy in the wasn't, he was just arrested on, he also had another issue. But if something were to go on, he would be fine because he was not only arrested on, he was arrested. And then like months later, he ended up going to Tarrant County for sexual. Got like dog issues. His mom would come up here all the time. That's how it all started.
I had an 88-year-old lady arrested on aggressive people.
Oh, there's.
the teams there.
Just shoot, high. What is she supposed to be, getting late? Every time she was coming home, it was so bad. She would feel so bad. She looked at him all. She had a lot of junk all over the house. So he would issue junk.
He's takes up the public works, he's got the trash roll off thing, just to get it out, get it off the curb or
Yeah.
whatever. I got the filters over on Kenny Street, not doing that. We went back and re-inspected and they pulled the AC unit off the middle shed. And, but it was better. And it was. She told me, I was like, are you living there? She's not. And they're doing paperwork. I was like, are you working remotely or? Gonna do A and B. He's already working on it. Here. Oh,
I don't know who he's living with, but
I'm standing real long.
I guess so much. Bring this back.
Right.
You know, that was when you know, you guys can do it. Oh, wait. Foundation of a door. Hey.
At the owner. Oh, yeah. Says he lives. I don't know. Says there wants to move 6 units in there, and I said, man, we gotta meet because we got issues. They're the landowner, so we gotta take it up. We got things falling. I said, yeah, you can get a permit on it, a pothole. I give you one to fix the road. Yeah, but the road is fall. Goodness. He said, yeah, I'll get a permit on. I don't know, maybe someone told me you can't move anything back in. I think that's probably what happened. Because I talked to another person, they were like, oh, you couldn't have mobile homes. We could get sued if we denied someone, you know, if it's zoned for home, and we didn't let them put one in. But we need to get that place fixed up, very bad.
I gotta come in. He's always complaining that nobody comes and picks up his trash, the water.
You know,
Well,
you know,
it's not.
fix the road, you know. I used to get complaints like the patrol wouldn't go through certain areas, apartment complex, just because there's potholes all over, so deck up. And then, gee, Wednesday, lanes, get off of the house. Damage in the. Well, we worked on getting those drives fixed. I got a little affinity thing for parking lots. Drives, and I cut my teeth in building inspections, just working that stuff first. I like seeing the black asphalt lot. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm a fan of that too, because that makes a difference. Actually, I want to be here, I really just. Yeah, like that, right? Like that. So, it's also, it's a septic. I mean, so, you know, it shows ownership, it shows the order. Yeah. So, These guys over here at 617. So next to the ambulance place, there's that little house that's there. And I got a guy who wants to come in and open a business, so then we park a lot in there. There used to be a house. We put down some feed gravel. Oh, there's no. It's right there. I was like, don't feed gravel. So, but the people that own it is the guy, the ambulance building guy, next door. Well, they put in an asphalt parking lot. And they striped it a little odd, but like, okay, I was, got a parking lot there. Well, we went in there, inspected it, and back doors locked. Like, hey man, where's the key to that? Like, opened it up. I already knew it was, sure enough, brand new bed in there, TV, like, sorry, man, I gotta tell you, like, you can't be living in here. There was a lady when I walk in the front lobby of the office, lady's on this couch, like, with her shoes kicked off on the phone. Like, it only used to look like a home. It was some homes. Actually, I think Pete was out there, that's what generated all this, that there was a complaint, they sold the car to somebody, fictitious plate or something. Deal, so I got an email from that, they didn't have a CO.
Sorry, I just remember something good.
Yeah, and so that's what generated all this. But, it's like, oh. So they're gonna live in there so far. Nice. What I guess the plan was, I guess all of them gotta go. Die, right? That's what I always look at that reader. Well, that's what he was doing. Problem is like so.
Oh, David.
They talk about her. They're like, yeah, it's longer living there. All right, we close that court case.
No, fictitious claims. I ended up having to delete that violation from browser because an officer issued a violation. Not everybody. The plates, what's a company this? So I ended up deleting it from browsers because we cannot issue that citation. Fictitious citation for fictitious registration. But the cost fee. So I ended up deleting it and it's gonna mention. Just FYI. Like a registration. I don't know, and I don't know who added it into browsers. But there's some knowledge. I tried to clean it up, but I didn't. That one I must have, I don't know, must have over a bit, but there was just one, so I went ahead and deleted it. We're gonna move to dismiss it. But right now, that he said that I remember to do it, but I'm not sure. I'll go back and look.
Check all of it.
The way it's written right now for the registration tag is either tag registration. And that's also $4. I'm gonna change the name of that one. And then I'm gonna drop them and change the name to misuse. Either tag. Not make it more fictitious because the fictitious is not a class. Don't worry about it. Still working with it.
I think one of the things probably June and July, we're still working on the parking violation. Ordinances, we don't think we have much that says like 10 feet from the intersection. Stop sign or something like that, that's a good time. Like 3 feet for driveway. Yeah, yes, I don't. We got on that because when we were going over the fire lane deal, we did something definitive that said we can't work in a fire lane. We found a workaround on that. But it's definitive. Like I've got one where industrial. We have a zoning ordinance that says it can't park a commercial vehicle, RV or boat that extends into the right of way. But it doesn't say technically parking on the right of way. So it's just. So I guess evidently when I finish up with this park is on that. That I gotta still working on that.
Why about next?
I'm just gonna take the city and I'm just gonna draw, play hopscotch or foursquare. Here we go. Like, it was supposed to be done. You know, our parks plan, so I was talking with other city attorney, our parks plan that was done in 2016 recommends that the city put in place a park land dedication ordinance. They weren't even aware that the city had one. They wanted to cut it in 28 or 98. And they revamped it in early 2000s. Last one was in 2007.
Like every department. is really changed 2 years ago. Like I do, and then like everyone that I do, like our attention still like. Maybe five or not. It's just been so.
Be able to use that money citywide. And the way the ordinance reads, it says, you know, wherever you collected that money from, you gotta use it within that area. Or an adjacent zone, but it can't exceed 2 miles from, like for example, Magnolia Hills. Every lot we collect is 1,200 off each lot, but we have to use it in that part of town. So we wanted the ability to be able to use it in Sonora, you know, to maintain that or something like that. So, oh, I see. You gotta. It has to do with like the equitable distribution of the funds. That's how some other, like in Arlington, Mansfield, they've got park zones that they designated. We were supposed to have that.
So the zone will not include that money for the park outside of the radius.
Yeah, it has to be like in that zone, or you can use it in a zone that's touches that zone. So like, let's say I have 4 zones, you know, if I'm in one, I can use it in essentially all 3 because they all touch, you know, but it just can't exceed 2 miles into that new zone. That's how our ordinance reads. You know, we're 6 bucks. You know, so I'm like, just gonna say, grade 3 zones. Yeah. You know, try to make it to where they all touch. We can use it citywide, but
Are we look at developing the railroad park?
there's, I found a whole, in Melissa's, folder there, found a whole, some exhibits of Railroad Park. I haven't read up on it, just.
Would be a very big, I've never walked it.
It's just like a linear park, it's just got stuff dumped on it. Which I don't know where that stuff's from, but, man, we cut through there, and the product wasn't even wet, and, we just drug a bunch of, we just hear all the mud coming off our tires. We got it, I guess we collected quite a bit when we cut through there, because I wanted to get eyes on it. When we were leaving, you hear all the mud hitting the wheel well, and it was on 3rd Street, 4th, whatever the brand new streets that we just did, is put some mud on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if they live island. Like, everything was. Some people did anything that she did illegally, not illegally, I mean, you know, I don't want this, but there was cases where people would come in and I paid that. There was no payment. And no one was monitoring. So the judge thinks she doesn't. I don't know. Oh, we did. Yeah, I mean, she probably. Well,
No history.
yeah, judge told me that he came in and everyone got fired and he opened up law firms and having them.
Well, they used to have a court at 8 people back in the day.
Mhm.
Go in there, pay your fine. Whatever. Okay, thanks. They just take money. So one of one. So, they charge. And all don't done it.
Judge. After something like other departments, we heavily. No one. Then Chief Brown would say that she would never be here. The time that she would call, she would tell Chief Brown, "Please come in, take coffee all the time." It's just awful. I've worked for other cities.
Something that genius. If they're gonna do the election. All this stuff is, you got, that's not our. That was like this old code violation, can't have all this stuff in front of the panels. And I'm failing everybody on commercial properties, working clearance, man, you gotta maintain it at all times. I go to the city hall room, can't even get it.
Oh, yeah, by the way, that thing.
Oh, yeah, it is even.
Oh, yeah. All that IT stuff that's in there,
IT stuff in where?
it's got like, well, it's like computers and monitors.
That's what it's coming from our family security.
Oh. It was beeping the other day, whenever.
Is that ring tone I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah. They did that same noise when they came out here and installed the panic buttons.
Yes.
Mhm. But at this point, sheesh, how did you get stuck dealing with them? Oh, okay, because Ann was doing it. I don't even know if the alarm's gonna turn on, that was the issue.
You have to bypass it or something. I didn't write it down because they promised me it would be fixed when they put in the new thing, so I didn't write anything down.
Hey, Rihanna, we got a new phone tree.
Okay.
Department, so. And it's working now. It wasn't working this morning, it was working yesterday.
Don't you help me a lot?
Yeah, well, we're trying to make sure people get hold of us. And ask the chief, because on the phone tree to call City Hall, it says press, for police and code enforcement.
It's still time.
Well, it just says it on the phone tree. So like it says like press 1 for city administration, 2 for community development or permits or whatever. Then it goes a couple other options. Then it says for police or code enforcement, press 4. So, and, did that. Now we got a function when you hit two for our department, it takes you to another tree. One for permits, two for inspections, three for code compliance, and four for planning.
If they don't get anybody, then they just hang up and call back.
Well, yeah, we got because our voicemails weren't linked.
Oh, yeah.
We set them up, but they had to redo them to this morning. And then we tested it again, and when you called 2133, it wouldn't ring Betty's number, it was ringing Audie's.
Oh, boy.
The other day, my phone was blowing up, and what it was is they said they fixed it. It was, when someone calls, it rings all our extensions. At the same time. So I'm, yeah, at the same time, so I'm answering phone calls thinking they're for me or something, and I'm like. Over here, like, yeah, because I don't like an inspection result from sending out a list of them. And I realized that they had found out that it's because it's ringing all our extensions. It was bouncing from Betty's to Audie's to mine. That's how I wanted it set up at first. But then when it wouldn't, once it wouldn't go to a voicemail, it would just cut off and drop the call. So I think we figured that out. And I never thought of it, so.
Yeah, I guess because I get a lot of phone calls. As soon as it got installed, I had all these issues. I was like, hold up, we gotta get it fixed. So I got everything fixed. But because people were calling.
I'm going back and I'm checking those screens on the missed call.
I get it. People.
They couldn't reach it. I know people were at this stuff. All right, we need to answer phones. But you can't, it doesn't mean you have to do everything there. Okay, good for me.
I did get some parade injury things from the other day. One of them, she told me, has 26 motorcycles.
Oh my God.
I did not know, not one single person gave me their insurance. So I don't know if we want to check it the day of. I don't know if anyone get.
We need to know, we need to have that, because can you imagine telling them they can't be in the parade the day of.
Yeah, I didn't see, but they were like, sorry, that's all they gave us with this. Well, they're not following any of the instructions. Okay, we need this, we need to bring the forms back. So I need to talk. I bet you want to work when you're not here.
Yeah, we probably need to have well, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I had a meeting with her before the very first parade we put on. And she gave me all these assurances about these different things. And she never followed through. So I'm not expecting there to be any cooperation anymore. That's the problem. And if she knows we're not gonna cancel it, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
But if we hold her to the standard, we actually really hold her to the standard, then I think everything will work out. But
I don't always think that.
no, she doesn't. That's the problem. And, everyone's too worried about appealing her. It's like, well, what happens with the next parade? What happens
I'm not here. I've seen your resume.
Okay, so we are, oh, wait, we've got back from executive session at 9:13 officially. And do I have a motion from the floor in regards to board adjustments or board placements?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Stacy Skeef and Casey, I'm sorry, what was the last?
Corey Hines.
Corey Hines, I'm sorry, Corey Hines to place 1 and place 2 respectively. Thank you.
And do you want to go ahead and wrap the EDC in that one as well?
I
Place
also
place
will
3.
include in that motion to appoint Brad Horton into the spot for James Connor.
Place 3.
Which is place 3.
Okay, so I have a motion to, on the park board for place 1 and 2, Stacy Skeef, Corey Hines, and place 3 on the EDC, Brad Horton. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor? We have 3, any abstaining? And 1 abstaining. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Out of here. Adjourn.